Welcome everybody to another Tech Tip Tuesday. Here we are, February 27th, rounding the end of the month, everybody. Time to get those last minute orders in, by the way. My name's Ken Close. I am a Healy World member here in the US, just like most of you guys. And I am honored to be joined by our head of operations, Jake Barron. Hey, Jake, how you doing?
Hey, Ken. Good evening, everyone.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we have Anthony as our customer service guru in the back office there in the chat. So hi, Anthony. Everybody say hello to Anthony. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Anthony, for being here.
Yeah, I love it. So if you guys are brand new to Tech Tip Tuesday, I'm super happy you're here. Thanks for joining us. And so you know how it probably works, but if you're not, if you haven't been here before, then let me tell you how it works. This is a chat-based forum where pretty much, man, almost everything's on the table. We talk about all kinds of stuff. Anything around the apps, the technology, functions, programs, all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of an open forum, not really a format. But what we can't do is we can't treat, diagnose, prevent, or even talk about any kind of diseases. We do have a very amazing database and resource for that we can tell you all about. So if you guys can just keep it within the technology, that's great. And other than that, I think we're ready to get started. You ready, Jake?
Yeah, let's kick this off.
Here we go. All right, you guys. So start flooding that chat with your questions and we'll do our very best to get to everything. And by the way, cool thing about having Anthony here in the chat is that if you've submitted a ticket and still not getting any solutions, we can pull that up live and start working it out.
There is no question that Anthony can't answer.
Oh, you're cutting out there, Jake. Say it again.
Oh, I was going to say there's no question that Anthony can't answer.
Right, right. I love it. Thank you very much. So here's one right out of the chute. Does the coil need to be attached to you or can it just be very near you? I love that. And Anthony's already in there with his crazy fingers going on.
Yeah.
So the coil, all right, I mean, there are parameters that engineers have created Healy with, and the coil has parameters as well. So the coil itself is a cool little attachment. If you guys aren't familiar with it, this attachment connects right to the back of the Healy hardware, basically slides right in under the clip and plugs in to the two ports where you would normally connect your leads and the wires for the microcurrent. And it converts that microcurrent from a current flow, electron flow, into a magnetic emission pulsed essentially at the frequencies that Healy is being transmitted based on the program you've chosen. Okay, it's super cool. It creates a carrier wave, essentially, of magnetic energy. In fact, not just one field, but two. So there are two coils in there, 180 degrees off, and so they create two very distinct magnetic patterns 180 degrees off from each other, essentially kind of building a zero vector field in the center. So you, when you're wearing the Healy, you clip it onto your body, you got the coil on there, you're in the midst of an amazing bubble, right? A magnetic energy bubble. And then the frequencies are pulsed into your field from the hardware. Now, how far does a magnetic signal go? I mean, there are tons of theories, all kinds of science and all kinds of studies talking about magnetic energy and waves and the limitlessness. But there has got to be an effective parameter put on by the manufacturer, and that's a bit of a smaller bubble, okay? You place the device on your body, and it's designed to be right within your body. Now, it can create a very distinct pattern of a 3-foot diameter bubble pattern around you, right? It can go for infinite distances. It can. It's just the amplitude of the signal gets smaller and smaller the further away it gets. The amplitude. Understand, the frequencies remain the same. The signal of the frequency, the information remains the same. The amplitude or its intensity starts to lower as it gets further away. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, it for maximum benefits, of course, yes, as close as possible, especially with the coil. It's not meant to be placed in the room like when running an atmosphere program with a MagHealy or that kind of thing.
Yeah, that was never its intention. The intention was
Yeah.
for convenience. It was personable, wearable system right on you.
Mhm.
Okay. Great question though. And thanks, Anthony, for adding those goodies.
And so we got this next question. These are all great questions. Thank you, Steve. It's a 5-part question, so 5 in 1. So let's see if we can go through these ones pretty quickly here. So first one is how long? Oh, okay. How long are the batteries in both the MagHealy and Healy expected to last? And then related to that, what's the best charging protocol? So in the instructions for use document with both, there is a average lifespan listed. I forget what it is for the Healy. Do you
It's
remember off the top of your head?
it's 500 cycles.
Yeah. And so, and that isn't mean that after 500 cycles it's not going to stop. It's going to stop working. My Healy is over 3 years old, and I use it almost every day. Charge it almost every day. So I've charged this thing way over 500 times, probably 600-700 times, and it still works perfectly. I have no issues with mine at all. So that's you have to put something in there as a requirement just for documentation purposes, but it doesn't mean that what it's gonna die on on that last cycle. So Ken, anything to add to that?
Yeah, so this guy here is a 2019
Mhm.
Healy, right? So and I'll tell you what, it works just as nice. Doesn't look as nice, but it works just as nice as my brand new one. And here's the significance: is that when I'm plugging my charging cord in and out, I'm diligent about how I do that. I don't go in from an angle. I don't go in abruptly. I don't rip it apart when I'm pulling it out. I actually use a lot of care. And so it's typically our charging port, the one that gets the most wear, that winds up failing before anything else, including the battery. So yeah, they're like Jake said, there's got to be a parameter. Manufacturers, like I just said earlier about the coil, manufacturers put parameters on things just because they have to.
Yeah,
All right.
and the second part of that related to the best charging protocol. We do like to mention on this call, if possible, it's always best to fully discharge that battery and then fully charge it again. Sometimes that's not going to be possible. Maybe you ran it down to 30% and you need it at full charge for the next day, so you go ahead and charge it. Okay, fine. I do that occasionally as well. But in when possible, you want to run that fully down and then fully charge it as well, to keep the optimal battery health there too.
Yeah, and know that sometimes your Healy will not accept another program because it'll say the battery's too low, right? And so it's still to drain the battery completely, you'll still need to leave it on, right? You can still keep it connected to the app and let it go completely dead. In other words, the blue light will continue to flash until it's just done, right? And that's completely dead. So even though the app says can't load another frequency program because the battery's too low, whatever, continue to leave it on when we're trying to discharge it fully. Now, as Jake said, if you just got to have it the next day, then go ahead. But make it routine that you drain it completely. Make it routine. And when I say routine, if you're using your Healy 5 times a week, make sure at least 75% of the time you're completely letting it die. And then fully recharge it. Not just partially, but fully recharge it.
Yeah, and on the MagHealy side, it's a different, of course, different battery, different size battery, much bigger than in the Healy device. And a lot of people, especially people that use the atmosphere programs a lot, they might leave their MagHealy on the charger always, which isn't the greatest thing to do either. So if you're the main use for one of your MagHealys is atmosphere, and say you run it all night or that kind of thing, still it's best to take it off the charger on a regular basis too, and let that fully run down, rather than, even though there's protections built into it, and the MagHealy firmware has been optimized over the last few months related to the charging behavior as well. It charges it a little bit slower, but it's meant to have better overall charging performance and extend the life of the battery in the MagHealy. But it's best to give that on a regular basis, to not always leave it on the charger.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with a teammate about that. They have the MagHealy in their cafe,
Mm-hmm.
right by the cash register, and they have it on the base all the time running. And I had to say, look, you need to let that guy completely die, right? So take it off the base, take it off the charger, run it in one of those infinite programs, the atmosphere programs, and let it completely die. Now, what happens is, as you may have noticed, that the program may stop on the app, but the MagHealy light is still on. The green light is still on. You need to go all the way until that completely goes off. Completely goes off. That means his battery's completely dead. Then put it back on the charging base and charge it 100% all the way back up until it's complete, and then use it again. That's got to be something that everyone needs to do. You know, a minimum of weekly, a minimum. All right.
Yeah. So next part of that question was, and this is great. We've talked about this a lot recently, as far as remote analysis and quantum entanglement and things like that. But how close do you need to be when running a vibration in the Analyse app, whether it's resonance or coach? And because of the way that it works with the information field, you don't need to be close at all. That is the great thing about it, is that you can do an analysis and vibrate frequencies for people in different cities, different states, different countries, different parts of the world, and because of the way that the information field works, right, Ken?
Yeah. Yeah. And let's expand that for a minute, because I want you to understand the modalities, the different modalities. When you are connected to the wristbands, or using the coil on the Healy, and you're using the pink app. Okay. Here's the significance. This Healy 2 app has no, it has no target, right? The app itself and the Healy, the Healy transmission has really no target until you connect to it, until it's in your proximity. Okay, so if you're running the pink app, it's taking microcurrent and putting it through the leads, and whatever's on the other end of those leads is what that implication is being applied to. Whatever's on the other end of those leads. You got the leads wrapped around the stalk of your tree, your plant, whatever, it's going into that. You got them wrapped around your body, it's going into you. You got them. I have this little trick. I put them. I attach the sticky pads to stainless butter knives, put them in water, and I can run that current flow through water, right? I mean, whatever is on the other end of those electrodes is the intended target for the frequencies and the energy being transmitted. Now, completely different scenario when we're talking about the blue app. Because why? Well, because you're putting in a client, and you're putting in content, you're putting in identification, you're putting in essentially coordinates, right? You're putting in a space in which Healy will place its attention, okay? And where you place your attention is where you place your energy, yes? So when you create a client in the blue app, anytime you pick a client and anytime you apply any one of the frequencies or the analysis, doesn't matter what you're doing, analyzing or applying, either way, the client is the quantum entanglement with the system. And it doesn't matter where they are. It doesn't matter where they are in the universe, not necessarily on our planet. I mean, the quantum entanglement is exactly that, a connection at the molecular level. Okay. So cool stuff.
Yep. Okay. Next question there. So, is there a general description of the various programs on any of the official Healy sites? So, on the website itself, there's not like an extensive list of what the programs do, but we have many downloads available. So, in Healy Academy or in back office, well, not just in the download section, but I'll just share my screen. It'll be easier to show this, but if you go to this is Healy Academy. Definitely, I've in the past we've been telling people to go to back office and they go to downloads, but since there's such great content added all the time to Healy Academy, I'd like to direct people now to the download section in Healy Academy. So just log in to academy.healy.world, click on the download section at the top, and then, for example, if you want to the product manuals themselves, you wouldn't think of them as like a descriptive sort of sales type tool, but they're actually really great for both the Healy and MagHealy. But if you click on, say, sort by manual, then go to manual Healy app, this is for the US. And if you click download, this should pop up here. So this is the guide here, the app manual for Healy, and you'll see here for each of the programs, whether it's Gold Cycle, there's a description, it tells you the name, the technology, the duration, and the frequency for all of them. Some of the programs are a little bit more descriptive than others. This one, it talks about examination tension, mental strain, grade pressure, social anxiety, other things like that, concentration problems, burnout. So it kind of gives you an idea of what these would be helpful for, more than just the program group title itself. And you'll see it's a very long document, but it's pretty extensive. It's details on the deep cycle programs as well. Same thing with well-being. Power of Three is a little story behind that. So definitely check this one out. And then the other resource I wanted to point to is if you sort by presentation and then go to this document called Editions Overview. It's a little bit further down here. This also is an excellent document here. And this one it's a little bit more, if you were to like share this with somebody, the format for it, it's a nice presentation. It talks about what is Healy, some of the benefits, the edition overview of which program groups come with which edition. And then it talks about each editions, like, okay, the Gold Cycle programs. And then there's studies that go along with it. A lot of the studies that we've done on the Healy programs themselves are in here, and you'll see bioenergetic support, and then there's studies related to coherence here. So this is, bioenergetic harmony 1 and 2, and again, studies related to that as well. So this is very detailed as well. So if you haven't checked out the Healy app manual or the editions overview, these are great resources. You can download them. You can share them with people as well, save them on your phone, save them on your iPad, whatever the case may be, and you can go back and easily reference them. But all the app manuals are available within the app itself too. So you don't even have to go to the download section. You can actually, if you go to the information section in, say, the Healy app, in the resources there, you can download the instructions for use. You can also view the Healy app manual and other things like that too. Okay. Last of that 5-part question that from earlier on here, it says, can you run MagHealy programs while running Aura also? For instance, Chakras.
Yeah, so that when you're running the cool thing I like about the new version of the Healy 2 app is that you can run multiple devices at the same time, right? So you can get one device running with a specific program, hard close the app, open another device attached to it, get another program running on it, hard close the app, and so on and so on. Now, what's the benefit of that? Well, the benefit of that is that you want to be able to run programs that are coherent. In other words, if you're working on something, I mean, if I was to ask anybody in this audience, you know, what do you need right now? They'll go, well, man, let me show you the list, right? And especially if I said, well, what are you trying to heal right now? Oh, well, geez, if you're past 30, there's probably a list too, right? So the cool thing though is pick something that you want to focus on this week. And let's just say that it has to do with your something around your fitness, flexibility, or weight management, or something like that. So then look through your programs to see what things are synergistic. You know, there's fitness stuff on the MagHealy. We have fitness stuff on the Healy. We also have meridians around specific parts of our body. So you can take various programs, like for instance, on the fitness, I like to run the coil on the muscle program while I'm running, or I'm sorry, the coil on the strength program while I'm running another Healy with the wristbands doing the muscle program. Because what I'm doing is I'm really inputting energy into muscle synthesis, ATP production, amino acid transport, protein synthesis. All of that is where microcurrent is amazing in its effectiveness. So if I am doing that in regards to, say, muscle energy or just muscle alone, there's a frequency for muscle, right? A muscle cell has its own frequency, different than a brain cell. So Healy can put out frequencies known to increase muscle synthesis. So at the same time, if I'm doing a coil program, I'm doing the Healy with a coil, and that one's running strength. Well, now I'm doing a twofer. I'm not only building muscle, but I'm building strong muscle. So I'm utilizing those two programs at the same time. Okay. So, and then if I was to run maybe a third Healy, I could run stamina from that same fitness program. So while I'm exercising, I'm building strong muscle and increasing stamina for more reps, right? More reps means more build, period. So yeah, so if you're looking at chakras, energy centers, and you want to say you're doing an upper body workout, what energy centers are in upper body? The fourth and the fifth. So the throat chakra is attached through the shoulders and arms. The fourth center, the heart, is through the chest. So you're just aligning energy within those centers. So when one is running a chakra program, it's not, you're not just aligning the spiritual sense of that energy center. You're also increasing energy within the organs and systems and cells in that center. Right. The reason that most disease happens, like what's the most, I don't know, the most popular, not popular, the number one disease is heart disease, right? And there's a big significant correlation between heart disease and the lack of love that's felt amongst humans, right? Where is love? Where is passion? Right there, that fourth center. And where is heart disease? Right there, that fourth center. So, so very important to keep those energy centers highly energized, allowing them to flow. So that's how you can kind of, you see how that works. You can kind of see how various programs are synergistic. Okay. All right. What else we got? I like to go a little outside. Sometimes I go a little out on the edge of things, but because I want you guys to understand, we look at things from a name. Look at the name of a program instead of what it's representing. Right? There's a representation, and Healy doesn't work just on the physical. It is the spiritual, the emotional, energetic. The energy is universal. It's everywhere. So when we promote a very specific energy by amplifying it with a frequency, now we're we're increasing its effectiveness, essentially healing it. Okay. Julie's asking if there's a workaround for the VPN issue with the Blue app, and Anthony's answered that as well. But I do want to pull that out because it's important. First of all, I want to ask this question, if I may, and I don't want, just don't take it personally. This is not an offense. When we're concerned, when we're using VPNs, I love the fact that we're using security measures. We're looking at making sure that our data is safe. But if we're running our lives through fear and concerned and worried and making all these steps because of we're afraid of this or afraid of that. And even though maybe, I mean, I have had fraudulent activity on my accounts and such, but it's super rare. So if we're trying to run Healy and we're trying to, and it needs to have a certain availability and a certain way of operating, you know, we're going to need to allow it access, or it's just not going to function the way it's supposed to. Anyway, I always offer or ask one to take a look at the use of the technology. You know, we have protective mechanisms, but if we are really running in a life of fear, there's going to be no protective mechanism is probably going to shield us.
And I know it's inconvenient for some people, but I wouldn't call it necessarily an issue, because that's the way it was designed to. It wasn't like an error with the app where it was supposed to work on VPNs in that case too. But yeah, of course, we know that a lot of people have made that that request. But yeah, as Anthony mentioned, there's no sort of plan for any sort of workaround related to that at this time.
It's kind of a needed thing to be able to, because those shields disallow certain functions that Healy needs to be able to do.
Yeah, and there's some compliance reasons too why that's in place as well.
Okay, let's see. There was another question I just saw.
There was one right up above that related to magnetic wrist bracelets, which is interesting. I don't think I've heard this one asked quite this way, but you know, we use, you know, the wristband electrodes with microcurrent. If you were to wear a magnetic wrist bracelet, or I guess any sort of magnetic sort of jewelry on the wrist, would that possibly affect a microcurrent? Which I, you know, because it's the microcurrents going in, it's something with something next to it, possibly affect that ability there.
This is a great question. So we need to separate what's happening. Microcurrent is electrons. Okay, so let's put electrons in a bowl and look at them as marbles. Okay, now when you put the marbles in the bowl, right, the bowl holds the marbles. Okay, magnetic energy has no bowl. It really doesn't have anything that's holding it. It's a wave. It's an energy wave. It's literally just energy moving through free space, and it moves. When it's moving, it's essentially what we would call a wave. Now, when it encounters a conductive entity, an antenna, no, I'm talking about a magnetic wave. When a magnetic wave encounters a conductive entity, a antenna, or something that is conductive of some sort, like the body, our bodies are conductive instrument. They're water and minerals, which essentially is a walking, talking antenna. And so when a magnetic wave encounters our body, what it does is it transfers wave energy into electrons. Now there's a bowl, right? The body is the bowl to hold those electrons. Now the difference is that when you're running microcurrent, you are the bowl. It's already in you. It's running through you from one side of your body to the other through the circuitry. So there's no transference between a wave to the electron. It's in electron form and in flow through your body at every moment, right? So hopefully that makes sense, that it's two different modalities, right? The end result is still electron flow, the magnetic wave encountering the body, inducing an electron flow in the body, and then the body decodes that because and utilizes it in whatever way it wants. The body does this. Now there is in electronics engineering, we account for loss, right? We account for loss, and when you change something from one form to another, there is a loss. So when you change something from a magnetic wave to electron flow, there's a loss. So just like the charging plate for your MagHealy, your charging plate for your MagHealy takes electron flow from the cord and converts it into a magnetic wave out of the plate. And then it goes into the Healy, and inside the Healy, there is another inductive system that takes that magnetic wave and converts it back to electron flow to charge the battery. That's how it transmits energy. Now, there's a bit of a loss there. That's why the plate or the charging system for a MagHealy needs to be a higher microcurrent than for the Healy, because the Healy, you're connected directly in through a wire, and you've got electron flow going right into the battery. So anyway, there's a bit of a loss from the magnetic wave when it transfers into electron flow into the body. But so it's still this two different modalities. That makes sense? Hopefully that help. I don't know if you got more questions, go ahead.
We got like a half yes. So that's good. Better than a no. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see here. Where?
So Dory's asking why I still don't understand why the blue app vibrating programs are so much shorter than the pink app and MagHealy programs. And I love this question. We were just kind of talking about the significance and differences. When you're talking about the blue app has a very specific target. It has a client, and this client is identified in the entire universe as only one being, one form anywhere. Okay. And that one form has a quantum blueprint. So Einstein, his theory of observation, where you have waves of energy, and it's not until the observer sees an object that those waves become, or actually the observer helps those waves become particle. All right. So this is the same way our body works. How many of you guys was just created just a second, just now? Just created just a second? Nobody. Why? Because every bit of your body is the past. The only thing that's present is this present moment, and the body in this present moment is still energy until observed, or until a consciousness solidifies it into form. So your consciousness, the way you think, the way you believe, your personality traits, everything about you creates this biological body, because it is your consciousness that takes all possibilities. Your genetic code is very open to suggestion. And so then all those possibilities wind up solidifying into matter the moment that you believe what you are and who you are. So the blue app is speaking and transmitting via vibration to your quantum entanglement, your quantum you, right? The blueprint of you. And it can change that in an instant. It's just energy. It's just changing the blueprint. It's changing your map, right? And then that map influences all of your material you. And we have to look at things outside of material form. And this is the hardest thing I feel like that most people are engaged in, is looking outside material form. And I mean, Nikola Tesla, one of our heroes, our mentors for Healy, said that the day that science begins to study the non-physical, it'll make more gains in 1 year than it had in an entire decade prior. So the reason that the Blue app is so short in its durations is because it's changing energy, not directly matter. It's influencing matter. Matter is after the influence. Okay. I know that might have opened up a bunch more questions, but
That was perfect. Thank you. Okay, next here. So we have another battery question. So related to the Healy Pro battery. So just to confirm, so no matter which edition you have, the battery is the same, the hardware, it's just the software that's on it. But anyway, the Healy battery is only lasting less than 2 days. It's fully charged when I use it. I do 3 programs a day. You'd think if the intensity is about 50% affects the duration of the battery. So, I mean, yeah, this if you're running it for 3 programs a day and you're getting a little bit less than 2 days, so maybe 5 programs or something like that, that's within the normal range for sure, especially if you're running, say, 50% intensity or above. And yeah, every 5%, whatever increment that you go up, you're affecting the battery life for sure. So if that's a concern for you, yeah, you could, if mentioned here, if you want to do 45, if 45% would work better, it won't necessarily work better for you. You'll get a slightly better battery life, but it's in the normal range though. So I wouldn't, if you're getting the proper conductivity and no disconnection sort of a thing at 50%, I would just continue running at 50%. If that's the right level for you, just know that if you're charging it after 4 or 5 programs, something like that, at a higher intensity, that's completely normal. So there's nothing to be worried about there.
yeah, absolutely. 4 to 6 programs is a normal charge life, one charge. And if you're doing them all in one day, there's one day.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge range, right? And that's why it's not like, okay, you should be able to run 5.5 programs per day, because some of the programs are 20 minutes and other ones are over an hour. And so, yeah, running it's a big range. A lot of them, of course, are in that 40 to 60-minute range. But it sounds like what you're experiencing there is perfectly normal.
And there are variations too, not just in whether you're running the microcurrent through your body or the coil. So when you're running the coil, by the way, you're going to, even at 100%, you're going to task the battery less than if you're connected to the body at 100%. Okay. And the reason is because remember that bowl I told you of electrons? you're emptying all those electrons right into the body. Okay. And the battery, let's look at the battery as another bowl of electrons. It's a big bowl of electrons. And when you dump all those electrons out, right, it's empty. Okay. The battery's dead. Well, when you're connected via the electrodes and the wires, it's kind of a direct ratio. 1 electron out of the battery, 1 through the body. So on, just like that. When you're using magnetic energy, it's not the same. 1 electron of energy going out into a magnet or a system creating a magnetic field it's less consuming. So you'll get more time out of the coil on average at 100% versus when you're connected to the wristbands at 100%. That's on average. It's again, like Jake said, the programs are not all the same length of time, so you can't really say number of programs. You could say maybe number of minutes, right? As a standard for operation. You could look at that versus the number of programs because they have various times. And then you would have to standardize the intensity that you've chosen to say, am I going to get more out of it or not? Right? Because, and as Jake mentioned, if you're looking at, is it more effective at a lower percentage? What's the term effective mean? Is it more effective on your body, or is it more effective in terms of battery life? Right? When we're looking at more effective on the body, the key is that you're just not feeling it. You don't need to be feeling some zapping or some tingling or something in your body when you're running the microcurrent. That's not it. It's just as effective when you don't feel it. In fact, it's more effective when you don't feel it, no matter what the intensity is. You can play with that, because if you're keeping the intensity down, you're not feeling the currents in your body, and yet the app is still saying that you're getting proper flow. That's the sweet spot. That's the sweet spot, because then your battery is going to last the longest. Okay. But it's all different. Each one of you guys are different. I tell you, you're going to have to play with it yourself. Okay. So Dory, it's back to, so the Pink app and MagHealy change matter? That's the question. So yes. So think about this for a second. I want you guys to understand. I'm going to tell you a little bit about epigenetics. Epigenetics is the influence of the cell outside the cell. So understand that 3% of the genetic code that makes your cell, cell by cell, it doesn't matter if it's a skin cell, bone cell, brain cell, muscle cell, 3% is fixed, saying it's going to be that, a brain cell, a muscle cell, a skin cell. It's fixed. 97% of that genetic code is adaptive. It's an adaptive gene reading the environment so that the host, the body, the person, the being, can survive in whatever conditions it's being placed in. So Healy, when it's running frequencies into your body, it's as if it is influencing that other 97% of the adaptive gene. 97% of the adaptive gene. It's giving information to that 97% of the adaptive gene, writing your genetic codes, your cell structures. So is it influencing matter? Yeah. Energetically influencing matter. This is, and the cool thing about that, this is study after study around microcurrent and the effectiveness of doing that. Okay. All right.
Hey, we had a couple more questions related to the intensity and coil, that kind of thing there, and battery life. So let's just kind of discuss these real quick. But one of the questions was, is there any reason not to use the Healy coil at 100% intensity as long as you don't feel any discomfort or anything? Because in the product manual, the official recommendation is to use it at between 30 and 100%. That's from the product manual that I showed earlier on page 47. But yeah, I mean, if you feel perfectly fine, no discomfort, and want to run it at 100%, that's great. Just also keep in mind that it will affect the battery life too. So that's if you're wanting to run more programs or out all day, and you want to use your Healy coil throughout the entire day, you might have to turn it down just a little, depending on how many programs you were planning on running there.
You know how I hack that, Jake? I have 2 Healys.
Well, there you go.
I'll drain one and then back up time.
Yeah, yeah, that works too.
Right. So get a backup, guys.
Yeah.
Let's see. So here's
also, sorry, Ken, I was gonna say, while we're on the battery life topic, the question was, does changing, and thank you, Anthony, for answering this already, but changing the default in the search app, so referring to how in the Heal Advisor app, a lot of people refer to it as the search app, search module, that kind of thing. But the one that Ken has next to his left shoulder or right shoulder, to the right of his shoulder, if you're looking at the screen there, the wave sort of app there. Yeah, every Healy ships by default at the low current intensity, and you can actually change it to high current. We've shown that a few times on this call, and also Healy for Beginners and Beyond. And there's also a video in Healy Academy in the Healy app section that explains that too. It's real quick. But yeah, switching it to high current would affect that as well, as far as the battery life goes too.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if we've really actually explained that low current versus high current and
Uh-huh.
what that means, because like the default is low. It simply means it's like a governor on some, like on an engine or something. It just doesn't let it rev all the way up. You know what I mean? So in other words, if you have a range of current from say 0 to 8 microamps, is max, and the low setting only goes from 0 to 6 microamps, right? That's essentially what it's meaning. It's just regulating. You still have when you adjust the app itself, there's still a 0 to 100% adjustability, but that just breaks up that 0 to 6 range between that adjustability versus 0 to 8 range in that adjustability. So, when you have it on high, it's not that, you're going to overcurrent yourself. You still have manual control, right? You could still keep it down at that 6, right? It just means that you'll be at, in the app, it will show maybe 75%, right? And it'll still be that lower 6 milliamp or microamp space. Okay. So that's kind of the difference. It's just it's a governor. It just doesn't, it's like, it's like putting those little outlet protectors in the outlets so nobody sticks their finger in there. You know what I mean? A little safety feature.
Yeah.
Keep the little ones out of the outlets. Okay, the safety feature. All right. So here's a great question here about someone who's brand new. Well, welcome, brand new person. I love it. Glad you're here. Brand new to technology, but I'm curious about how wearing any EMF mitigation device would potentially interfere with the electron influencing device. So when you're wearing what's EMF? It's electromagnetic field or electromagnetic force. Electromagnetic force. So that is what the coil is doing. It's taking electron flow and transducing it into a magnetic wave. An EMF device, device just simply negates magnetic waves. So if you're running the Healy and you're connected to the microcurrent, the microcurrent is still going to go through your body, even though you're wearing an EMF device. However, if you're running the coil is going to be negated. The effectiveness of the coil will be negated by wearing EMF devices. Or the MagHealy. The MagHealy effectiveness will be negated. Okay. So yeah, you can run the microcurrent through your body and wear EMF negating systems. Your body's still going to get the influence. Look at it this way. The EMF protection systems are on the outside layer of your body, right? Keeping it off. The Healy and the microcurrents on the inside layer of your body going in, right? Okay. Let's see. I think are we caught up?
I think we are. I think we're near the most recent questions here. Let's see.
So here's one about is there a video that compares the blue app changes how it changes energy, and pink app and the MagHealy, how they change matter? So Marcus did he did a presentation. He's done it more than once. I don't know if I'm sure there's a recording of it somewhere where he talks about and displays the science around the electrical fields, the spiritual fields, the information fields, and even has a great chart that kind of gives a conscious subconscious side and the levels of fields that energy is being influenced with Healy. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I don't think there's one video that's kind of currently available that discusses all that together, but there's definitely pieces of that in Healy Academy. Some of those different sections there. Just in the last few months, there was an entirely new series of videos on the information field, which definitely goes very sort of deep into the science behind the information field. These are worth for anyone looking for more sort of in-depth explanation for how the Healy device works via the Analyse app, quantum entanglement, that kind of thing. This is certainly very useful. And then this section here, magnetic field frequencies, are specifically about the science behind the MagHealy. These two are also worth checking out as well.
you know, if you were to go onto YouTube and just put in Marcus Schmieke explains how Healy Coil works, you'll come up with that video and that diagram I was just telling you about. It's a pretty great diagram, and he kind of gives a pretty good description of how the cables versus the coil versus the resonance. In other words, the information field or blue app, it kind of gives where their influence is, what area of influence that you're seeing. So it's a great video. I think that reference, I personally like having like charts and graphs and outlines and things like that. I write things down all the time. And so it makes it pretty, a little bit more decipherable, I guess you might say. Okay. I think we're caught up. I like it a lot. And thank you, Anthony. You're just crushing it back there.
Yeah.
By the way, folks, if any of this information in the chat has been helpful, you can save this chat if you're on your PC or laptop. So there's 3 little dots down there by where you put your chat questions in. And if you tap on those 3 little dots or click on those 3 dots, it opens up a menu where you can save chat. And it will, you click on save chat. At the end of this call, a message will pop up on your screen on your computer or laptop that says save chat, and you can save it. And all this will be there. Of course, this recording will be on the YouTube channel, which is the Healy World America's YouTube channel. And it'll be under the playlist called Tech Tip Tuesday. And all these questions are hyperlinked. And so that's another awesome resource. Jake's team does a great job. Thank you guys for all that indexing. It's laborious. I know, I've done it.
Yeah.
And by the way, if this was helpful, folks, please invite your team, your customers, your friends. Again, we do try to talk about things that are in more depth. And I definitely open Pandora's box often when it comes to quantum field and entanglement and this influence over these bodies. That's one of my specialties, is making sure that the body maintains a healthy stature. And believe me, folks, the mind gets in the way. So we want to make sure that the mind has all kinds of information, the right information. Let's see. I think we're doing all right.
Yeah, I think we are pretty caught up here. It's another 5 or so minutes to go. But yeah, I've already mentioned it, but always spend some time in Healy Academy. If you haven't, even if you've been there, in the last few months, there's more that's been added since then. There's some great Meridians module trainings as well. that are available there. And, just even as a kind of a refresher, especially if you're new to Healy, watching all these videos about the science and that kind of things, when you're brand new, maybe you don't kind of understand fully the terminology of what we're talking about. As you get more comfortable with it, familiar with it, and use it yourself, you might pick up some different things when you're watching these videos and like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. That I've been using this for a few months.
Yeah, and this is it. I was super blessed to join Healy when even before we opened in the US. But and my background in engineering, I studied wave theory for years. And so understanding this technology was pretty easy. And I've spent almost every day in some form of learning since 2019 with Healy. So just know that there's a lot to learn and you will never be done. But it's an amazing field. It's an amazing field. And we can take our power back when it comes to actually improving vitality in these bodies by knowing a lot about what Healy does. Okay. Let's see. Oh, you know what? We got a couple minutes here. I'm going to bring my phone online here with us. I just want to show you guys that picture real quick. Here we go. Okay, because the screen, the recording I mentioned earlier, it's just, if like I said, if you go to YouTube and you search Marcus Schmieke, you're going to see all kinds of cool stuff that he has. And so if you go to the YouTube page I was talking about.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Here's the graphic. And so it gives an indication of this tangible three-dimensional molecular body. See the bottom section there? The molecular body. Then you have the energetic body, right? And this is the biophotonic body, the information body, right? You've got the quantum processes, which moves the quantum field through a consciousness and solidifies into matter, right? And so then it shows you here on the other side of the screen how the cables or electrodes versus coil versus the resonance. Now
Yeah,
this
and
is
just keep in mind this chart was created before MagHealy was launched. That's why there's no
yeah,
MagHealy listed on the left there. So,
yeah, this is old. So this
yeah.
is a bit older, but so the coils, the MagHealy's not on here. MagHealy falling right around that coil area though.
Mhm.
So anyway, I just wanted to show you this, how there's a correlation, and Marcus does a ton of research, and not just Marcus, but many other scientists are doing a lot of research where we have the information field and how it's starting to influence this tangible three-dimensional space. So hopefully
Yeah,
that's
and I forget where one of the information field videos in the Healy Academy, I believe, from what I remember, has this chart in there as well, and it's discussed a little bit more.
there. You cut out a little bit there, Jake. What was the last part?
No, I said in Healy Academy, in the information field section that I just showed, I believe one of those videos in there shows that chart too. I forget which one it is though.
It does. I've seen it in there. I don't recall which
Yeah.
video. And it also it doesn't it shows that conscious versus subconscious, and that those layers.
Uh-huh.
This is the information field stuff. And this is the cool thing about how we're influencing these bodies. It's in layers. And some is more I don't like the word invasive, but more direct. Let's call it more direct when we're looking at the tangible material body when we're putting microcurrent. And the other is more subtle, more information field influence, but yet still very effective. Okay. Well, guys, we are at the end of our hour. Oh my gosh. Hopefully you guys found some value here. I think, if we didn't get to your question this week, definitely come next week.
Ken, sorry, I just found something real quick.
Oh yeah, let's see it. Let's see it. Put it in here.
No, but and also I forgot, but this was from just in December, so a little bit newer video from What's Up Wednesday on December 6th. Martin Whitman did a training on the information field, and that same chart that Ken just showed, he was discussing this as well. So if you want to go back, you'll see here, this was the December 6th, 2023 episode of What's Up Wednesday. And you can get to this, you can either go to HealyAmericas.com. It takes you straight to our YouTube channel. But if you want to, I'll put the link here to the video, but you can also go to our playlist. When you go to our channel, go to What's Up Wednesday, and then scroll down here. You'll see December 6th, 2023 with special guest Martin Whitman, and I will go ahead and share this, copy the link, and put it into the chat for those of you that are interested.
Isn't that great? And so there was one of the questions here. So MagHealy and Healy influences matter. You saw it on the chart. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That how it influences matter. All right, you guys. Awesome. Fun night. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, audience. Without you, we wouldn't be here. So definitely, if this was helpful, tell somebody, invite a friend, share this with everyone, and let's get the world educated on Healy. How about that?
Sounds great.
All right, you guys, have a good one. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.